You began your sourdough starter a couple of days ago. It's growing, but it's not ready or complex enough in flavor to use in a traditional sourdough bread. Or so you thought. You can actually use it now to make bread, but you will have to rely on commercial yeast for help. Here's my easy bread machine sourdough discard bread recipe. We're talking homemade fresh bread with very little work. Bread machines can be finicky because you really don't have much control once you add your ingredients. However, if you have a good base recipe, you can usually take a peek during the kneading process and add more flour or water to adjust the dough as needed. Being able to do this has been invaluable to me over the years. I have saved many loaves of bread as a result. So, here's my simple sourdough recipe. It's very easy and it truly is a dump and go homemade bread process. For the ingredients, you'll need bread flour, granulated sugar or honey, salt, a little butter, 1 cup of sourdough starter discard, milk, water, and yeast. Follow your bread machine's directions for the order of adding the ingredients. Usually you'll add the liquids first, then the dry ingredients with the yeast last. If your machine has a yeast dispenser built into the machine like mine, then the order may differ. I'm following my bread machine's order directions, which is actually dry ingredients first, followed by wet with the yeast in the dispenser. So to the bowl of your machine, make sure the paddle attachment is there. You're gonna add 3 cups of bread flour. This is 390 grams of bread flour that I had scooped out in a measuring cup, leveled off. You're gonna add 1.5 tablespoons of granulated sugar or honey, it's whatever you have and would like to use. Then 1.5 teaspoons, which is 6 grams of salt. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons, which is 1 ounce of softened butter. We're gonna go ahead and add our 1 cup of sourdough discard. And I sprayed my cup before I put my discard in it just to make it a little easier for it to come out, what it looks like so far. And then we're gonna add 1 cup, a mix of 1/4 cup of milk, which is 2 ounces, and 3/4 of a cup of warm tap water is all I use and it's fine. That's all you need, 8 ounces of total when they're combined. You just pour that on top. The order of these ingredients may differ based on the directions of your bread machine, but at this point, if you have the dry ingredients on top, this is where you would put your yeast on top of your flour. But now I'm gonna put mine in the dispenser, so I'll show you what that looks like. Go ahead and add your bowl to the bread machine, lock it in place, and if you have a dispenser like I do, you're gonna add your 1 teaspoon of yeast to that, or you will have already added it to the bowl above your dry ingredients. Go ahead and set your machine. I always just use the regular cycle. Set your loaf for either large or extra large, and then whatever your preferred color is. I prefer my crust to be light. My regular cycle is 4 hours. Press start. Your machine may have a rest period before it begins kneading. You could check your instruction manual for that info. I know mine does, so I have a rough idea about where my dough is during the first knead cycle. It's about 30 to 45 minutes after I hit the start button. During that first knead cycle, after the yeast has already been added and mixed in, open the machine lid and look at the dough. Let's take a look. If the dough looks wet and spread out, add 1 tablespoon or 2 of flour. If your machine is moving around a lot on the counter as it's kneading and the dough hook is working really hard, that means your dough is likely too dry, so add a tablespoon or so of water. Ours looks really good. Notice it's not spread out. It's the way the dough should look as it's kneading. Once you've checked the dough and it looks good, close the machine lid and let the machine do its thing. You're free until the bread is done. Our bread is ready, and I know it's ready because my machine beeped 4 times. That's my signal. Once it beeps, use oven mitts because the whole machine is gonna be super hot. And then just carefully remove the bread, just lift it up. I just shake it out of the pan, just like that on the side, so the top doesn't break through. Ideally, because this is a sandwich bread, you wanna let it cool before you cut into it. It's much easier to cut when it's cool, but there's no reason why you can't already go ahead and cut a slice for yourself, add some butter and eat it. It's a fantastic snack. So we're gonna let it sit and let it cool, and then we'll cut into it. Time to cut into our bread. It's been cooling for a little over an hour now. About an hour is all you need. So let's slice it like we would a sandwich bread. Check out our crumb. Look at that. It's beautiful crumb. It's consistent top to bottom. There's no dense areas at all. It's really soft. It looks like a sandwich bread. It's got some nice little holes in it too. It's just a typical bread. It's just going to have a little bit of sour taste to it from the sourdough, but it is a regular white sandwich bread. You should totally enjoy this if you like sandwiches and bread hot with butter on it. Perfect. Why buy sandwich bread when you can make it with hardly any effort and use up that sourdough starter discard that's taking up all that space in your fridge? And by all means, don't throw out that discard. You're likely making sourdough starter to make bread, right? So go ahead and do it with your discard. In fact, Scott's been eating this sandwich bread for weeks. He loves it as a grilled cheese with meat, veggies, you name it. It's a great sandwich bread. And if you have hearty eaters in your household, they're gonna love this large size for any reason. So thanks for watching. I always appreciate your support. And until next time, go bake the world.